Welcome back to TMNtv News. I'm Alicia Fireherm, and the date is Monday, February 27th. Let's take a look at what's been happening this week, starting with international news. A little over 1 year ago, on February 24th, 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine led to the major escalation in the Russia-Ukrainian war and has since caused over 40,000 deaths, 58,000 injuries, and displaced over 14 million people. According to CNN, Russia is expected to be on the offensive again this spring. The U.S. has recently reaffirmed their commitment to helping Ukraine, with President Biden visiting the capital city of Kyiv last week and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen making the trip today. Both met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Biden announced a new aid package totaling $500 million that includes more military equipment. During Yellen's visit today, she stressed the importance of continued economic support. She wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times saying, quote, "We cannot allow Ukraine to lose the war for economic reasons when it has shown an ability to succeed on the battlefield," end quote. Jimmy Carter, the oldest living former president, entered into hospice care on the 18th. The decision to receive care from his home surrounded by family came after a series of short hospital stays for a number of health issues. The 98-year-old served as president from 1977 to 1981. His presidency was characterized by events such as the Camp David Accords and the Iran hostage crisis, the latter of which had a negative impact on his re-election campaign that he eventually lost to Ronald Reagan. After his time in office, Carter and his wife Rosalind founded the Carter Center, an organization that works toward advancing human rights and improving the quality of life across the world. We got some rain and high winds last night here in western Kansas, but that was about it. The storm caused more damage farther south and, according to KWCH, even produced 2 tornadoes, one touching down in Liberal, which caused damage to one house and a few mobile homes. The U.S. Highway 50 is currently closed near Holcomb due to downed power lines. That is the extent of the damage done here in Kansas, but in Norman, Oklahoma, the storm produced a more powerful tornado. Here's more on that story, courtesy of the Tribune News Service.
Oklahoma City waking up to some damage this morning.
A possible tornado touched down in the area overnight in a town called Norman. Fox's Jameson Kiefelfer shows us the damage left behind.
I've already been able to talk to some people who live in this neighborhood, and they say that this tornado missed their homes by just feet, but some people weren't so lucky. This hit about 9:30 on Sunday, so as people were going to bed. Oklahoma is used to getting these tornadoes around, 3, 4, 5 o'clock when it's still sunny outside, so you couldn't even see this thing coming. And this is the damage that we're seeing. This red Jeep flipped on top of another car, pushed into this home, and all of these cars on this block seem to have just been pushed by this wind. All of those windows busted out. But as we look down this block, homes are missing windows, roofs, even a few missing their entire garages. There's one garage that's gone. There's another one that is collapsed. And you can even see some of the workout equipment that was in that garage, the everyday life activities that people had inside these homes. Now they can't return to these areas for probably quite a while. But this is how tricky these tornadoes can be. Just a block from here, some homes are not even touched. Some of them seeing some of that debris damage, just minor damage that they're seeing to their home, but some of them look like no storm happened whatsoever. So this is going to be a big recovery effort for everybody in the Norman area, and thankfully we're going to be hearing from the city later on this morning so they can provide resources to people who can't go back to their homes today. And so far the city tells us that 12 people were injured in this storm last night at a local hospital. They went there for some medical treatment, but thankfully all of those people should be okay. For Fox Weather, I'm Jameson Kiefelfer in Norman. Back to you.
The Environmental Protection Agency has ordered that shipments of contaminated waste from a spill in East Palestine, Ohio, be resumed, taking the waste to disposal sites in other parts of the state. The shipments were temporarily paused over the weekend so officials could decide exactly where to ship to. Previously, some waste had already been moved to sites in Michigan and Ohio. The waste comes from a train derailment that occurred at the beginning of this month involving 38 rail cars, 5 of which carried hazardous materials. The derailment was caused by a problem with an axle on one of the cars. In order to avoid an explosion, officials released toxic chemicals from the cars, which emitted flames and smoke. Residents have since been able to return to the area. The Norfolk Southern Railway Company suffered another derailment on Saturday, this one in North Carolina. However, it was not on the same scale and has caused no problems. More information can be found on TigerMediaNet.com. Public school officials across the state have shared their concerns with House Bill 2218, a bill introduced by the K-12 Education Budget Committee at the end of January. If adopted, it would establish an education savings account that families can take money from to use toward a private or homeschool education for their child. Supporters of the bill say this could be a way to help families choose what type of education works the best for them. However, many public school officials are opposed to it because it would enable tax dollars to be used for non-public education. Hays USD 49 Superintendent Ron Wilson spoke to TMN about the effects this could have on the district, especially with a private school nearby.
Not everyone gets upset, but during a school year, people get upset for various reasons. And so it's always going to be that thing where they're going to say, well, okay, well, I'm just taking my kid and I'm taking my money, because it's a way to just get back at you because they don't like decisions that have been made, and invariably it's going to happen. And I think it just gives them another, I guess, bullet in their gun belt, kind of, so to speak. That really it's not a very fair bullet, and doesn't public funds are for public services.
Some officials suspect the committee will end up pushing for a similar bill instead that seems better, but many are still opposed to. More comments on this issue can be found on TigerMediaNet.com. As we reported last week, it was recently announced that Wilson would recommend to the USD 49 school board to keep the high school's Indian mascot. He made this recommendation at last Monday's board meeting. However, the school will move away from the current logo that depicts a Native American and design a new one. That just left the board with a decision of whether or not to change the mascot and colors of Hays Middle School. The board was evenly split when voting on the mascot. President Craig Pallister cited research he has done, finding that schools typically get rid of an Indian mascot, not adopt one. It was eventually decided by a 5-1 vote that the middle school will adopt the maroon and gold colors and the motto "Brave and True," but keep the falcon mascot. For more on this story, visit TigerMediaNet.com. I hope you all enjoyed the warm weather this weekend. That pattern is supposed to hold the next couple of days with sunny skies and highs in the 60s today and tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the warmest day of the week with a high of 64. By Thursday, however, the high will only be 33 degrees with a low of 18. Snow is expected. Friday and Saturday will be in the mid-40s with Sunday warming back up to 61. As always, to stay up to date with this forecast, visit kwch.com. After the break, Caden Sanders will bring you your sports update.
We know you'll love what you see here on our campus in Hays, America.
With over 200 academic programs, small classroom sizes, and a 96% success rate, we will make sure you get the tools you need to succeed.
We are proud to offer you 120 clubs and student organizations, over 300 different intramural activities, and countless other ways to get involved here on campus.
As the most affordable four-year institution in the entire state, we are excited to offer you the best value in education anywhere. Not to mention our robust scholarship programs to help minimize that stress of paying for college.
We hope you enjoyed Tiger Nation, and we can't wait for you to see yourself here.
Welcome back. I'm Caden Sanders, here to bring for Fort Hays State. The softball team is off to a hot start in their non-conference portion of the season, winning all 6 games in the tournament that they played in that Washburn hosted this past weekend. During the tournament, the team put up 46 runs. On the defensive side, the team earned 5 shutouts on the weekend. For the men's baseball team, they had a tough weekend against a 4-7 Washburn team coming into the series that was supposed to start on Friday but got pushed back due to cold weather during the 3-game series between the I-70 rivals. The Ichabod's controlled the Tigers, winning the 3 games by a total of 26 runs to 10. For the Tigers, they moved 1 game under 500 on the season, with almost a month into the season. For the track team, their indoor season is coming to a close as the conference championship took place this past weekend at Pitt State, where the Tigers claimed 4th on the men's side with 7 earning all MIAA honors, including the men's 4x4. The women's team earned 5th at the MIAA championships, putting 3 Tigers in all MIAA honors, with one of them being Maddie Rossi earning 1st in the 600-yard run and also breaking the school record. Next up for the team is the indoor national championships before the outdoor events start. As winter sports come to an end, the wrestling team traveled to Chadron, Nebraska to take on the region's best wrestlers. For the team, they only had 2 wrestlers make it out of the region to make it to the national tournament. Those 2 wrestlers are Cade Lindsley and Terrius Henry. The 2 Tigers are ranked in the nation for their respective weight classes. The Tigers, as a team, finished 7th out of 11 in the Super Region tournament. The basketball teams just competed in their final regular season game against rival Nebraska Kearney this past Saturday, where the women's team suffered another tough loss in their season. For the men's team, they had a defensive battle against the nothing-to-lose attitude from the Lopers that were looking to shock the Tigers at home, but that almost happened, but the Tigers' defense stepped up in the end to win the game. For both teams, they get set for the MIAA tournament in Kansas City this week, as both will compete for the postseason championship starting Friday. The men's team will compete in the 2nd game on Friday in the 3 versus 6 seed against the 6-seeded Hillcats of Rogers State. The women's team will compete against Missouri Western in the 3-6 seed in the rubber match after a double overtime that happened in Hays just over a month ago. And that's all the time we have for this week's sports update. But before we go, here's a look at the upcoming sports schedule.
Five, 4, 3.
When you transfer to Fort Hays State University, you discover unmatched affordability, convenience, and powerfully supportive faculty and staff, all with a determination that matches yours. Complete your degree and leap forward in your life and career with Fort Hays State University Online, the best value in education anywhere.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of last week's campus events. To celebrate Black History Month, the Fort Hays Black Student Union hosted a banquet on Thursday night, where attendees could eat food, dance, and learn more about Black history. According to BSU President Denzel Major, the organization wanted to celebrate their culture and allow their members to share the different experiences they've had. Attendees heard from several members who shared speeches and poems, and also got to play a Black History Month themed Kahoot. At the end of the night, names were drawn for raffle prizes, which included art and candles from Black-owned businesses. More on this event can be found at tigermedianet.com. Earlier this month, the Tiger Food Exchange moved from Forsyth Library to the Memorial Union. On Thursday, the Fort Hays Food and Hunger Initiatives held an open house for students to check it out and meet with the staff and volunteers who keep the pantry stocked. Attendees also got to meet with various organizations who have partnered with the Food and Hunger Initiatives, one of which is the Student Government Association. TMN reporter Caitlin Leiker spoke with the SGA President Ryan Stanley and Director of Communications Jaden Siebert about the partnership.
Yeah, and something the Student Government Association especially has been focusing on this year is supporting our international students. And the Tiger Food Exchange has been huge for that demographic of students. They don't have, a lot of them don't have like transportation on hand, so instead of going to spending the money to pay for an Uber to go to Dillon's or whatnot, they can go to the Tiger Food Exchange. And with the grant, we've also been able to offer like a greater variety of foods, and so I think that's better help them also.
To learn more about the Tiger Food Exchange and their programs like Meal Kit Monday and Fresh Food Friday, follow FHSU Food on Instagram. 4 students from Fort Hays attended the Midwest Model United Nations Conference in St. Louis last Wednesday through Saturday. 3 students represented Ukraine and 1 student represented Ireland. After 3 days of committee meetings, the groups were able to present draft resolutions to be voted on by the entire Model UN body. Next year, Fort Hays will represent Ukraine and Estonia. Lastly, TMN's Tierney McGivney has a new installment of This or That for us. She heard from students on an interesting debate: fish or no fish?
Fish or no fish?
No fish because it smells bad.
No fish. Fish or no fish?
I'm gonna go with fish.
Do you have a reason why?
It's high in protein. I really like salmon, and I'm Catholic, so that's the only thing I can eat on Fridays for the next 6 weeks.
No fish because it's disgusting.
No fish. I think the texture is very weird.
Fish or no fish?
Fish.
Fish or no fish?
No fish.
It's nasty.
Fish.
Definitely fish.
Fish or no fish?
Fish. Get some bass or crappie, put some apple stuff on it. Oh, so good.
Fish.
No fish.
No fish. It tastes disgusting.
Fish.
Fish or no fish?
Fish, but you gotta do it fried, man.
Thanks, Tierney. Personally, I really like fish, salmon, shrimp, it's all good. But that is a wrap on today's TMNtv News. To stay up to date with local, state, and national news, visit tigermedianet.com as well as our social media pages. Thank you for watching. I'm Alicia Fireherm, and we'll see you next time.